Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Guy Ritchie's The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare from 2024. So yes, we are back once again, ready to discuss Guy Ritchie on the channel, and this time around, a very interesting film that came out this year, very recently, and one that I wanted to talk about today on the channel and give my brief thoughts after a first-time watch of this film. So yes, will be a spoiler warning for this discussion. If you haven't seen this film, I'd recommend seeing it first and then come back to this video. I will be discussing the film in detail in aspects, you know, the ending and such, so I wouldn't want to ruin the film for you before you've seen it, so just recommend seeing it first, and then we can go from there. We can talk about this film in the comments as always and discuss Guy Ritchie films. So yes, with all that said, let's discuss my thoughts, my brief thoughts on this film. And saw it last night for the first time. Now, Guy Ritchie, of course, you know, when he's at his best, and back when he made various films, he was a filmmaker who I absolutely loved, and I think he is a great filmmaker. Lock, Stock, Snatch, and a few of his other films I do really, like and love, and The Gentleman in recent years. That's the one that I really, it blew me away in many regards, and just loved seeing that film. It was a kind of a return to form in that sense of the Guy Ritchie films that I personally, really love. And this one, it comes amidst, kind of quite a few, films recently that Guy has been making, and it's been a bit hard, be honestly, to kind of keep up with all of his films. There's quite a lot coming out these days, and yeah, just seeing them all, getting to them all is a bit of a challenge. But I wanted to see this one. It was more interesting to me. The actual plot being based, of course, on Operation Postmaster from World War II, which culminated in 1942 January. And this is a very interesting film. Also has Ian Fleming in this one as well. I think just this mission was obviously part of the inspiration for the Bond novels. So I do really think this is an interesting film for that. Just in general, as a Guy Ritchie fan, this was a bit more for me than a few of his other recent films, just in terms of the plot, and did it interest me on paper. Obviously I will be seeing all the Guy Ritchie films eventually, and will come to the ranking eventually in the future as well. But yeah, this one it spoke to me, and I must say, overall, I think this is an okay film. It was enjoyable. I think it really started off quite well, and it kind of went downhill and off the rails. I think, just being perfectly honest, with all respect, I think some of the recent Guy Ritchie films for me, they start off, quite, lively, energetic, and I think, and just interesting. They grab me, and they're fun and engaging, and then I think they do go off the rails a bit, and I just find with the last few years as well, even aspects of The Gentleman, but not really. I just think that was one you definitely had to keep up with. But some of them are a bit convoluted. I wouldn't say The Gentleman is fully convoluted. It's close to being that. I think it's quite a lot going on in that. With the plot and stuff, but the way it's told. But some of these ones, Operation Fortune as well, which I saw a couple of months ago as well, very similar. How there's a lot of information just being fired at you literally. I think just the way it's kind of done, and obviously flashing back, jumping around at different points, loads and loads of characters in this, and I think just the way it's told is a bit too confusing at times. Just who am I really meant to kind of as well get invested in at times? Some of the characters who started off very, very good at times, and just enjoyable. I think they took a back seat. I think the actual plot and just the simply telling of the information, took over, and I think one of the things that separates, the great Guy Ritchie's, from the ones that are enjoyable but not necessarily, great, is one of the things is just the way that things are told in that sense, and how the characters take a backseat, and the characters being plot, or very much involved, emotionally and stuff, in the actual plot, is what makes things like Snatch, Lock, Stock, so investing as well. And I think he was in such control of those films in the way the information is gradually given to us, and just all the right moments, story beats, and it's all perfectly designed, those films. This one is just so much going on, and I just couldn't really get invested at times in the characters. The development went out the window really, and in the final act, I just found particularly I think the characters became just kind of bodies, and they are just kind of, it's just the mission and the telling of the mission and the details that, I think really all the characters' relationships, at least for a while in the final act, kind of just went out the window, and I was just watching action, which, I think the action to this film, is really good at times, at first especially, but I think it does become a bit, generic and just kind of repetitive, especially particularly in that final act. The way the film opens up is very engaging at times. I think that first act was my favourite for sure, and I think just the way in which we're being revealed information and, Operation Postmaster, of course, being a general, idea to disrupt, the German U-boat operation, and of course this is a secret mission, and Churchill was the one who kind of put this together, and in this film he's played by Rory, and that was very interesting as well, and I thought he was very good in the film. I think the way Churchill was portrayed was quite good as well, even though it's not really a film about that, in that sense it's about, the mission as more of a kind of stylistic film, Guy Ritchie, of course, and I think despite that, it was quite well done, and some really cool things happening behind the scenes, and the way in which, he briefs different people, and then they, of course, are briefed by Cary Elwes. I thought it was very well done at times at first, and I think, of course, Gus March-Phillips as well. This character who did inspire Bond, and he's played by Henry Cavill, and I really enjoyed Henry Cavill at first, and I just think the way in which they're on the boat at first as well, and getting that kind of fight scene with the Germans there, and just the shootout. I thought that was really well done, and I think just Gus March-Phillips, in the way he's portrayed in this film, it was very interesting, and again, really all the characters took a backseat, at a time, but I did enjoy Henry Cavill in this film, and I just think the style to this film is one of the best things about it. Consistently, it's very stylistic. The outfits, just the way it looks. I think the action in this film is also stylized, not necessarily, similar to a lot of Guy Ritchie films, in the action, but it's more in the vein of Operation Fortune, but a bit more, as I said, a bit more stylistic than that, and it's kind of, I think at first the action was very engaging, and it does become, as I say, a bit generic and repetitive in the final act, and that's really all that's going on at times, is the action, but I did think, it was consistently good action, solid action, and well put together, well edited in that sense, and, just very engaging. I think the first act generally is fun, it's engaging, it's comedic as well. I really did enjoy the comedy to this film at times, in that first act. I just think it had a very good tone, very good flow, and just it was consistently, kind of an enjoyable film at that point. I think the performances throughout, are very good. That's one of the things, one of the best aspects about the film. Till Schweiger as well, as the villain Henrique, the main villain of the film, of course. He's very, very good in this film. At times, he's this, great villain actually, and I just think it's a bit wasted potential, in the final act, when we come to the close, of course, we've had, Eiza González, throughout the film playing Marjorie Stewart, and, she basically, there's been this thread going on, and, just the way in which it was built up, throughout the entire film and their, interactions, I just thought there'd be a bit more, in that final, kind of moments, a bit more closure and a bit more of a satisfying nature to, for example, his death and all this. It's just very much, very stock, throwaway kind of moment there. But it was, until that, I think it was quite engaging, that whole kind of plot element to the film, the thread, this dynamic. It was very tense and very disturbing as well. And, I did enjoy Eiza González in this film, as Marjorie Stewart. I just think she was, she played it well, and I did enjoy, as I say, that kind of relationship. Just watching this, it was very tense, very, quite scary as well at times. Whether or not he would find out, and this kind of stuff. So, I think he had a great villain. It just was, underutilized in the end. Really, that can be said for the entire cast. Alan Ritchson as well, and of course Henry Golding. Quite a lot of actors in this film. You've seen, of course, Henry Golding in The Gentleman. He was great in that, and I just think some of the cast members, they start off, they're introduced very well, the characters, and it's great to see. And you think, wow, I can't wait to see all these actors in this film. And they just kind of become, more secondary at times. They're very much sidelined, and they do just become, these individuals who are just going through this mission. And there's not really too much character development or interesting character dynamics at times. As we go throughout the rest of the film, I think the way it started off, was again very much to my liking. But I think it was just a bit of a shame, to see Henry Golding, for example, in this, and he's not really given too much to do, considering how great of an actor he is, and how great he was, enjoyable he wasn't in The Gentleman, and I just think it's just a shame, this film at times, some wasted potential. And I think the final, kind of scene in this film was really cool. Obviously, Churchill kind of debriefing the characters there, and that was a really cool moment. And then we have, of course, the information afterwards, in the credits, such, kind of showing, what some of these people done, and different things and stuff in there, and obviously how it was inspiring as well to Ian Fleming, and Freddie Fox in this film plays Ian Fleming, of course. And I think in terms of the depiction of Ian Fleming, it wasn't really something I was big on, but I appreciated the film in the way it was kind of focusing at times on that, and how his presence, and how he did play a role in this, and then it did lead to, of course, inspiration for the Bond novels. So that was really cool. I did appreciate that, and how Guy and everyone involved, kind of cared, and they were quite, obviously I found this quite exciting to portray Ian Fleming. I just think the performance was a bit, the way it was done in the characterization of Ian Fleming himself, I think it was a bit generic and didn't really feel that authentic, just to me. So overall, I did enjoy this film. I just think it could have been way, way better, and considering how it started off in that first act, I thought this film would be better than it turned out. Having said that, overall I did enjoy this one. I think it's an okay film. It's a decent film, and it has some elements to this that are really to praise, and I did really enjoy, especially at first. I think the action throughout, is very engaging for the most part until the final act. I think the style to this is so well done, and I did find this very funny at times, and I enjoyed obviously the cast when they were really utilised in this, and I think it was at first, even in the first half, really it was this fun, engaging, kind of pulpy film, and then it did veer into a generic kind of mission-based film, and obviously portraying Operation Postmaster. It was really cool to see this. I just think the way in which it turned out, it could have been done in a different way, or the similar way to the first act, and I just didn't think it was. It kind of had a different tone, and it wasn't anywhere near as engaging as we went throughout the film, just for me personally. Too much information as well at times, in the wrong places, and taking away from the characters at times, from the dynamics, and just from the overall enjoyment of this film. But overall, I enjoyed it. I did find this to be a decent watch. I was engaged overall. I did have a good time with this. So overall, my final rating for this is a 63%. I think that's a fair score based on my enjoyment. Consistently throughout this film. I think it was another Guy Ritchie film that I did enjoy, and he is obviously making quite a few films at the moment, and again, I've not seen all of these films. This is very similar at times to Operation Fortune, which also came out recently, and I just think it's kind of this one that it kind of becomes generic at times, just like that film, and loses itself as we go throughout the film. Again, a stacked cast, in this one, just like Operation Fortune, but it does feel very similar in the way it kind of veers off, and it loses my interest, and it is once again just like that film, just too much information. The exposition to this, just the way in which the characters are kind of giving information, and stuff. It's just not done in the way that I personally, like to see, in films, and particularly in Guy Ritchie films. I just think there is a difference, at times there's a different kind of Guy Ritchie making films, and this is one of those the kind of Guy Ritchie times where it's just it's an enjoyable film overall, but it's just too much to fully get behind this film consistently, and it's just I get kind of detached from these films a bit, and just in the way kind of the story is done, the narrative, and what potential starts off as such at times really promising. I just think it kind of veers off, and it loses that kind of what could have been in that sense. So once again, I enjoyed this film. I do praise this one. Once again, Guy Ritchie's made a film that I did enjoy. I was engaged by, and I appreciated this one especially. Just considering portraying this Operation Postmaster, of course, showing Ian Fleming, the time period, obviously World War II, and it was really cool to see this. Different cast members, playing certain roles. Once again, Cary Elwes though is playing essentially the same character that was in Operation Fortune. Don't really know what's going on there, and there's a couple of things that have happened recently, with Guy Ritchie films where certain actors are playing almost identical characters that they played previously, and I think that it's fine to do, but it just wasn't done in the way that I found to be that enjoyable in this film. It was just kind of very, very strange to see. Of course, that's my thoughts on this film. What do you think? It'd be great to hear your thoughts on this, and how would you personally compare this to different Guy Ritchie films, and just what do you think of this? What was your experience when watching this film? I've seen most of the Guy Ritchie films, of course, currently, and I'm definitely a massive fan, of this director. I do think when he's at his best, he is one of my favourite modern filmmakers. Look, Stock, Snatch. There's quite a few of them as well. The Gentleman that I really loved personally, and I think this one is kind of, Wrath of Man was also one that I didn't quite, enjoy. But this is similar to Operation Fortune, where I enjoy it, and it's just it could have been one that I really, really enjoyed, perhaps loved on paper, and it just falls a bit short of that. But nevertheless, enjoyable films that I do appreciate, and I enjoy just watching these films and seeing, of course, another Guy Ritchie film. So as I say, it'd be great to discuss this in the comments and all things Guy Ritchie, and I do plan on doing a ranking at some point, probably this year. So look out for that as well, amongst all my other rankings that I've been doing. I do plan on doing a Guy Ritchie one finally on the channel. So yes, as always, take care and thanks for watching.